I think we are there. It's Frank Foley again, and I'm doing another one of my fantastic interviews with really generous people who have just decided, they don't know who I am, but they are going to share themselves with me for 45, 50 minutes, whatever it is. So much gratitude for that. And all the people I've worked with already, and this lovely lady that I'm about to talk to. So it's Lilias, is it Ahmeira?
Ahmeira.
Ahmeira.
That's correct.
Ahmeira. Okay. We've kind of known each other on the very peripheries of what you might say has known each other for about 10 years, since I've known Kerry, really. And so I know quite a bit about you, but as I've said to, many of the other people I've talked to, one of the things this has brought up for me is how much of the story I have about someone is me filling in the gaps of what, I get some facts, and then, the stories that we make up about people are really fascinating. So this process has been really interesting for me to find out there's always so much more, and, this story is partly right, but then there's so much more. So it'll be fascinating to hear about you today, Lilias. One of the things is that Kerry's been trying to help me, grow this, whatever this project is. And she wanted to get some people on she was like, I'm going to get some people on a list that you need to talk to. And she was, these are dynamic, creative people. And you were one of the people on the list. Do you understand that about yourself? Do you realize that that's, when I say that to you, do you get that's who you are, that you're that kind of person that will be on a list like that someone makes?
Yes.
That's lovely.
As somebody said, how would you describe yourself? And my partner has a very good saying, and that is not one of the herd.
Right.
I'm not frightened to say things as I see it, and I'm not frightened to challenge things. And if I believe in something, I will passionately 110% go after it.
Wow.
Therefore, I do tend to be on one or two people's lists, usually for good reasons, occasionally for not so good reasons.
That's really funny. Okay, so what I'm interested in is, just for you to kind of tell your story, but I'm going to try and structure it a little bit. So let's take it back. Let's take it back when you are your, early childhood. You're 5, 6. Who are you then? Are you Lilias? Something different, or?
I was very different. I was very fortunate to have been brought up in Devon in a lovely sort of small farmstead, surrounded by horses, dogs, chickens. We had sort of, you'd walk into the kitchen and there'd be a stray dog that had arrived, or a kitten, or ducks walking through. And we knew that if there was a duck in the kitchen, you didn't shoo it out because it would generally leave you a present on the way out. But
Right.
My childhood was filled with animals and very carefree, and ponies, and it was lovely. And it then, when I was sort of 9 or 10, got completely shattered. And from that moment, Lilia started to evolve of the person you know today.
Wow.
And my mother became terminally ill with cancer.
Right.
And I had to, at the age of 14, 15, say goodbye to her.
Yeah.
And your life changes overnight. And you suddenly realize that actually your carefree childhood is left behind you. You see at school, you see all the mothers meeting their darling, children, and being there at speech day and things like that. And you haven't got anybody.
Yeah.
And suddenly you kind of learn to be very self-sufficient. And I think that's shaped a lot of the person I have become today.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
And I had a father who was 20 years older than my mother. My mother died when she was 44, and I was
Right.
14, 15 years of age. So a very difficult time to lose one's mother, and to have a father who was 20 years older than your mother, who
Right.
was in his 60s. It's very hard for them to relate to a carefree teenager who wants to go party and do all the things that all parents tell their children not to do. It was very, very challenging. And I left home very, very young. I moved out of my father's home when I was about 16.
Wow.
And I actually moved away from my godmother, who I lived with, at about 18. So I was absolutely out on my own
Wow.
from a very young age,
Yeah.
and fairly angry at the world. And it was challenging. It was very, very challenging. And, you know, you kind of want to beat up on the
Yeah.
world. You want to discover things, and nothing has gone in your favor. And you see everybody else having the most lovely life with parents. And it was difficult. And then I I became a fitness instructor. I mean, I've been jack of all trades, so I think I'm finally becoming master of the final one I settled on. But over the years, I became a fitness instructor, I became a chef, I've been an estate agent, so many different things. And I was a psychic for a while. I studied at the College of Psychic Studies, and all have led me on this journey to where I am today. But I think another of the greatest things that shaped who Lilias is today is traveling.
Okay.
I got fed up with everything, and as most young people do, packed a rucksack and said, I'm off and I'm not coming back for 2 years. And I don't think I've ever been so scared in my entire life of telling everybody I'm not coming back for 2 years, and then getting on that aeroplane and realizing, well, you have to go away now for 2 years. I told everybody. So that was a bit scary. And I went through 32 third world countries.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I've traveled through places that you can't get through today.
Wow.
And it was very interesting because I was I've been in parts of Bolivia that you can't, you know, at the time were under martial law.
Yeah.
I've been right up through into Kashmir and Ladakh, and you can't get up there now. There's so many places. I've been very, very fortunate. And you learn that actually life isn't a bed of roses. And you learn that some people out there have very little and are the most full of wisdom and kindness and generosity. I mean,
Yeah.
you would be traveling, you might be sleeping in somebody's, you know, hayloft, and they would share with you the food that they had, which was probably just lentils or something really simple. And there probably wasn't enough to go around the family, but they would insist because it was the honorable thing for them to do in sharing their food with you. And you learn a different understanding of gratitude. And what it really means to extend that simple gesture of kindness to people.
Lilias, I've got so many questions. I need to jump in because I just want to, because there's going to be too many for me to catch up on. So hold on a second. Let me just clarify a couple of things. So just quickly, were you traveling on your own when you traveled?
The majority of that. I traveled for a little bit of time with Encounter Overland, which was a organization 30 years ago that you went around in Bedford trucks. But a lot of it, and that was through some of the parts of Africa that were absolutely no-go zones for a girl on your own. But a lot of it was on my own. And you are never on your own. That's the other thing that's fascinating. When you travel on your own, you never are, because you always meet up with people who you travel with. Some are wonderful, some are, you're there doing them a favor because you can see they're totally ill-equipped to be in the situation they're in. And it's just this wonderful rich pattern that creates this tapestry of who you become.
That's fascinating. Lilias, I just want to take you back because I know this might, I don't know if this is painful, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I just for my curiosity, if you're willing to talk about it, I'd be fascinated to just get clarity. I think you said, your early childhood, you started saying, Devon, and it was wonderful. And did you say up until 9 or 10?
Yes.
So can I just be clear? Was that when your mum was diagnosed?
9 or 10. Yeah, parents were going through difficulty in their marriage, and lots of arguing. And like with many families, the child tends to be piggy in the middle. And as a young person, you don't know who to believe. And I was sent away. I went to boarding school when I was 6. I had my 6th birthday at boarding school.
Wow.
So coming home to rowing parents and going back to school and boarding is not they do things differently these days. The pastoral care in schools is very different to what it was.
Right.
So you've got parents that are warring, and then suddenly you find your mother's really ill, and nobody will tell you why she's ill, but you can see that somebody is becoming emaciated and they can't share the things with you, and they're in and out of hospital, and you start to see things through different eyes. And it wasn't a happy time.
What does the word resilience mean to you, Lilias?
Being able to overcome whatever is thrown at you.
Yeah, I mean, even just talking to you without you telling me the story, you strike me as a strong person. You have a strong demeanor, but knowing that history is fascinating, because I'm fascinated by resiliency. How we keep doing what we do, especially when the pressure is on, or how we come back from great traumas, whatever that is. And you've just kind of outlined very succinctly. I'm thinking from 9 until 15 is that they are those
Yeah.
years when you are becoming an adult, and you had this trauma in your life.
Yes.
That was not only ongoing because of relationships structures, then you had, the worst possible thing that a child can have at that time is to lose a parent. I mean, that just screams resilience at me, you know what I mean? For you to come through that and be the person you've turned into.
I think you have a choice in life. You can choose to be resilient and go forward, or you can choose to be a victim. And
Wow.
the latter is not an option. There is, I'm a firm believer, and I absolutely walk my talk. There is always a solution. Problems are just solutions waiting to be found. And
Right.
I
Right.
wholeheartedly believe that. And even though you might be in the most god-awful situation, there's a lesson in there somewhere. As
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Kerry would often remind me. And there are people who you turn to at times of trouble who will go, hang on a minute, these are things that are teaching you something. You may not like it at
Right.
the moment,
Right.
but you know what's going to come out of it is hopefully a beautiful revelation.
Absolutely. Just moving back to when you kind of started talking about your, the different things you've done. Do you see that, Lilias? Do you see that as a journey, a kind of, is it part of a building to where you are now, or do you not see it
Yeah.
as a kind of, or these are phases? These were just different phases, and they don't really relate to each other in terms of building to where I am now. They were just different phases. How do you see it?
I think they were different phases, but I do believe that they were necessary,
That's
because if
really
they
interesting.
weren't necessary, I could never have done what I've done today. My life's work started in 1999.
Wow. Wow.
When my second son was born,
Right.
and he was quite clearly not right.
Okay.
And I think the big thing, the next sort of really big thing, and looking back on it now, it was fantastic. It happened in the manner it did. But at the time, the red mist came down and the language was somewhat colorful.
Yeah.
I took my son to see a pediatrician, and I was told that he was severely autistic. He would never amount to anything. He would never go to normal school. He'd never go to university. And basically, I should go away and have another child. And
Wow.
I
God.
pretty much told the pediatrician that in less colorful language than what I'm explaining now, that she should never put boundaries on somebody quite so young.
Absolutely.
And what she was saying was completely inappropriate, and left the office. And as I closed the door behind me, it was kind of, watch this space. And from that, closing that door of that pediatrician's office, it was right. I now have a different job to do. I'm already a practitioner, but I now need to go and study with the best doctors and the best scientists and the best people I can find in the world, because I've got a child to fix. And that's pretty much been my life's work. God, I'm getting all emotional. Crying a minute.
God, that's amazing. That's
It's been my
amazing.
life's work. And I'm writing a book, and I've written quite a lot of it, but I can't write the last few chapters because I haven't finished the job yet.
Oh, God, that's amazing. That's so beautiful. How old is so your son is 18
He's
or
now
19?
18.
Okay.
He's away at college.
Oh my
He's doing
goodness.
amazingly well. He didn't start speaking till he was about 7, nor was he out of nappies till he was about 6 or 7. I went through a couple of almost sort of 2 nervous breakdowns. There was no one to call upon because I didn't have any parents, because both of them were dead by that stage.
Yeah.
So I've had, most parents have, parents, grandparents to call upon. I never had any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I needed help, I had to pay for it,
Yeah.
or not go out.
Right.
And so it's been a very, very tough journey, but it's been a very beautiful journey, because I have learned so much, and I have shared everything that I have learnt to help my son go forward with as many other parents with children who are facing the same difficulties. And I think because I've lived it, I'm able to reach people in a different way. I understand what it's like to be up every single night, month after month, to change the sheets 2 nights, you know, or 3 times in a night, to wipe excrement off the wall. And just, you know, you just get on with it. And so this is, again, the resilience coming through. Nobody else is there to rescue me. I have to get on with it. And you know what? We have to make the best of it.
That's
and
amazing.
so someone said to me, you know, doesn't anything faze you? And I said, I've got children. Why should I be frightened? I think children are the scariest things on the planet. You know, they will present every trauma, every worry, everything you could possibly have. And basically, so I think if you've had children and you've raised them successfully or doing an amazing job, nothing else in life can scare you, because it has to be the most challenging thing on the earth you can do, and probably the most rewarding thing.
Right. That's beautiful. I just love it. And it's a fantastically powerful story. And I can't, you know, I mean, let us know when the book comes out, because we'll tag it onto this interview, even if it's a year in the future, you know, because this interview will stay up, so it'll always be there. So listen, I want you to, if you can, to go and just clarify. So you were already, I think you said, I think I'm right in saying you said you were already practicing when your son was born. So can you just take us into that phase? Because I want to kind of get clear on where, you know, you just in terms of the work you do now on that journey, when you made that jump into your practice, what was that shift? What happened then?
Well, I was an estate agent, and ever since I can remember, when I shake hands with somebody, I get a download.
Wow.
And, you know, just for fun, I used to read the back. I don't read somebody's palm, I read the back of somebody's hand. And I'd go to functions and dinner parties, and somebody would have their hand on the table, and I would go, wow, are you always that stubborn in life? And they'd look at me and they'd go, how the bloody hell do you know that? And I said, your thumb says so much about you. And so I do readings around tables, and it'd be a bit of fun, and, you know, a bit of, you know.
Uh-oh. No.
I'm trained with the most wonderful man called Robin Winbo. And one day, as part of our training, because you have to learn to feel energy and understand the frequencies of it, they stuck a magnet in my hand. And I went, wow, the energy of that's amazing. And he said, turn it over. So I did. I went, oh, that's different. So I could feel the difference between the positive and negative field of a magnet. And he said, these are therapeutic magnets and they heal people. And that was it. I was off. I then rang the lady who had provided the magnet for this lesson in the College of Psychic Studies. And I said, I want to know all about these things. And she was putting together, this is, going back 30 odd years ago. And she was putting together the first course in magnet therapy. And I was one of the first accredited magnet therapists in the country. And that's where it started. So I was in magnet therapy, and then I started doing electronic gem therapy. And so I was doing a lot of, I've always been at the cutting edge end of energy medicine. So a lot of stuff that where I could feel stuff that was going on. And then with my son, I was just trying to find all sorts of things. And suddenly I met another practitioner who, when I had a problem, I'd ring him and he would always have the right answer. And he would ring me about my experience with electronic gem therapy. And I decided that his answers were actually a lot further ahead than mine. So I had to go and study what he was studying. We joke about it to this day. And there's a wonderful guy called Jonathan Fruing. And so he told me about this thing called autonomic response testing. And it's around about that time in electronic gem therapy that we had the interesting conversation with the pediatrician. And so I learned from then on to start looking for different things. So there's been electronic gem therapy, there's autonomic response testing, then there's bioresonance. I mean, there's so much. And literally every single thing I have done has been, how can I find a different way to look inside my son's body, to give him more power, to take him forward, to make a difference that not everybody else is doing, because what everybody else is doing doesn't seem to be working. So we have to find something different. You know, I don't want to be run of the mill. I want to be out there at the most cutting edge end of whatever I can find. And the stuff I'm doing at the moment is probably some of the most exciting stuff I've ever done, but I'm already seeing the stuff that's beyond it, that will probably be coming through in 3 to 5 years time.
Wow.
So when I get involved with something, I tend to launch it, put it out there, do a lot, of course, with my son. But when it starts to become mainstream, I'm already on to the next stuff.
Right. So did your practice, did it qualitatively change when, I mean, obviously your son was born, and there was a time after which the diagnosis or whatever happened with your son, and then obviously that that you've told us about the reaction you had. When did that start to take your practice into a different direction, when you started incorporating that into what you did with other people? Was that a big shift? Yes,
very much, and I was very lucky because I spent 15 years training and following Dr. Dietrich Klinghart's work, and he's utterly amazing. And his work has a lot to do with chronic disorders like autism, Lyme disease, heavy metal toxicity. And I had 15 years of absolutely following him all across. I would fly to Seattle, I'd fly wherever he was lecturing, because his information seemed to be so far ahead of everybody else's.
Wow.
And because we were getting results with it, the people who are chronically ill are on forums a lot. And so, the network is a wonderful thing. I didn't grow up with it like these youngsters today, but you learn that if you can get onto the net, if people hear through the grapevine that you're doing stuff, then it's working, then it starts to happen. I mean, this latest stuff I'm doing has literally come about through word of mouth, and all of it has come about through forums and talking to people. Gone are the days when you put letters through people's doors and things like that.
Right.
Social media is a wonderful thing, and it can work in your favor, and it can certainly work against you in a very big way as well. So you have to be careful what you say and how you say it.
I think it's interesting. I think that I'm going to kind of shift on, but talking about that, the same kind of subject. I think there's a zeitgeist now that people are waking up to the fact that the mainstream media narratives are very selective, and I think people are understanding that those mainstream media narratives are whatever you want to say, but not to be trusted fully as information sources. When you talk about what you talk about, is it frustrating to you that that these things aren't given a forum, a wider forum? When we don't talk about these things in what we might call the mainstream media, and you rely. I think it's a good thing in a way, because it kind of you're talking about people that have experienced these things, and you share it like that, and it has an authenticity to it. But does it frustrate you that there seems to be a block where they don't allow certain narratives through to be talked about openly and discussed and shared? And look, this is a new method, and this might be happening. And is that a frustration?
Frustration is massive. Many years ago, I was Sally with her banner, and I would shout it from the rooftops what I believed and what I saw was going on, and that it wasn't fair, and stamp my foot. I have learnt that perhaps that is not the best way to go ahead, because then you get phone calls in the middle of the night actually threatening you and your family.
Wow.
And I have been threatened. So you learn to go about it in other ways. I still shout about these things, but I do it in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think if you follow the money, who is to gain from putting the news out that you're listening to or reading? At the end of the day, who are you helping? Yeah. And why would you want to read bad news anyway?
Exactly.
So I don't buy newspapers. I think they're quite fun to look at the pictures, but having been in the newspapers a tremendous amount, I know that they all print a load of rubbish. I've been taken to task by a couple of newspapers because didn't like one of the clients that I was looking after that was a very high profile person. And so they tried to take that person down, and they therefore decided to try and take me down. And, there was not a grain of truth in anything that they had written, but you can't go after them and go, actually, you can't say this, because you just give them more headlines. And so you learn to change the world in a quiet way, in a different way. in a way that's got foundations and roots. I mean, there is a huge amount of movement in so many areas that we want to shout about that is quietly making the changes. People are not vaccinating in the same way that they used to. There are a lot of people now asking questions that wouldn't have asked before.
Right.
There are people understanding that heavy metal in their teeth, the mercury fillings, aren't perhaps as good for you as, you know, your dentist might like to suggest they are. You know, who, you know, if you've got a problem, if you go to a surgeon, he's going to use a knife to cut it out. If you go to an acupuncturist, he's going to use a needle. You know, if you go to a massage therapist, she's going to do lovely things with oils. You know, whatever the outcome you want, choose how you're going to get there, and think about who you're paying and why.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I think that's fascinating. One of my things is, if we keep looking to establishment structures and establishment politicians to get the world that we see, that a lot of people seem to be waking up and saying, we don't want to live like this in this corporate kind of, you know, but if you keep asking the same people to change it, you're going to get the same results. And I think people are starting to say, we can create, if we want to change it, we have to take power. We have to take, you know, taking power sounds a bit revolutionary, but
well, that's what Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that means maybe I can't change the world on my own, but maybe we create small networks of people, and we talk about harmony, and we talk about joy, and we talk about human things like connection and just listening without any judgment and that kind of thing.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
then maybe we lay seeds that, you know, grow into something in our lifetime. That's amazing. Listen, Lily, I'm gonna throw some questions at you. So we're going to change tone slightly, and we're just going to see where we go with this. So, the first thing I'm really interested in, or the first thing I want to give to you, is something that I'm interested in, which is I've along the lines of what we've just been talking about, really, because as a kid I was really confused, and I used to speak to my extended family members, and I'd say, I don't understand, I can't work out. As far as I can see, there's no one controlling humans apart from humans. It seems to be our world. But so many people are unhappy, and I couldn't square that. I couldn't work out why there were lots of unhappy people, but we were in control of the system. I didn't get it. So I would say, you know, why can't we be happy? I didn't understand it, you know. And I've followed that right the way through my life, and it's turned into fascination with what makes us thrive and what makes us glow, whatever word you want to use, flow state, shining, flourishing. What is that for you, Lilias? What's you know, for you personally, or for you, whatever way you want to answer it, what's human flourishing to you? What is it when we thrive?
For me personally, when somebody says something can't be done and we find a way to do it.
Oh, that's lovely. I love it.
That's what floats my boat. If somebody says it can't be done, I go watch this space. And that's what makes me happy. The other thing that makes us for me as a family thrive is walking my talk, because I can't tell somebody how to run their lives unless I'm doing it. And as a result of that, not many people would want to live the way I live. But I absolutely love it. But I think going back to something you said, which was very interesting, why are we not happy? Is that today kids look for gratification. They look for other people to make them happy. And actually happiness comes from inside you.
Absolutely.
You can get up in the morning and you can choose to be happy, or you can choose to be miserable. Or, I mean, it's like my eldest son, at times, you know, when he was, oh gosh, you know, 16, 17, it's a difficult age, and they rage flowing in, I hate you so much. And I go, do you know what, darling? I love you so much. You will get through this. It's kind of like, And we have a lot of reverse psychology, and you can't get angry when somebody says that to you.
Absolutely.
They'd burst out laughing and come back. So I try, for me, it's about turning situations around and trying to find the funny side of it. It's like I ran a business called Special Horses for Special Children, and I had 18 horses, and we did circus tricks with horses with
Brilliant.
children who are on the spectrum and children from deprived homes and who are able-bodied. And I'd get social services bringing me children who, they would come with two-minders because they like to throw scissors at people and,
Wow.
you know, do nasty
Yeah.
things, and they,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people needed protecting from them. And you get this 7-year-old and they'd go, you F ... G, see you next Tuesday. And, you know, they'd look to me and I'd go, fantastic words, which was not what they were expecting. Okay, how do you spell them? What does it do? Where is it? What is the action here? And, you know, you can see this little person backing off as fast as possible because that was
Right.
not the result they were wanting. The social workers were basically going, oh my God, we weren't expecting that one, and brilliant. And the language just didn't happen very often because they knew if they said it, they had to spell it, tell us what it was, where it was, what the action was. And that wasn't nearly as much fun or the reaction they were hoping for.
That's
so it's
right.
about, to me, thriving, being happy is how can you make the best out of any situation?
I love that. I just, you know, that really resonates with me because as a person that's struggled with expectations and, you know, just self-imposed stress of trying to be perfect and you know, the last couple of years has been a real journey for me. You know, I say it's been a 49-year epiphany, but, you know, coalesced down to the last couple of years when after my dad died and everything. And it's really funny what you said. I just absolutely love because in September, you know, the summer was over and it is that time where you're kind of looking towards winter and thinking, oh my God, that happens to me every year. And I just thought, you know what, I can't live like this anymore. It was a day in September and I just thought, I just refuse to be unhappy anymore. I can't live like this. And for me, it was a process of I've always been very physical. I'm quite a big guy. So I just got a program of getting physical and I started doing gratitude. I started doing meditation, mindfulness, and it's completely changed my life. It's just, you know, I mean, I've always, the thing is, it's wrong to say that because it's not changed my life. It's made me wake up to my life because I was always there underneath. Yeah, but I was there underneath all the time. I just had a lot of stuff going on in my head. You know what I mean? I love what you said about it being a choice. And listen, anybody that's watching, just have a look back at that last couple of minutes because Lilias talks with great passion and strength. And it might sound, if you're really struggling, it might sound like it's not true, and it might seem not true for you. But try it. Just make a commitment right now that you are going to just live the life you want and find a way to do it. Just make a commitment. I'm not going to be unhappy anymore. There's a great book. Can I just, go, you carry on.
Stand in your power. When people are unhappy, they've generally given their power away to somebody. So take it back. Take your power back, stand in it, own it, and don't ever let anybody take it from you.
I love that.
And be prepared to say no.
Yeah.
It's very powerful to say no. It's great.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that we're really hot on at the moment, and it's like everything is your life. Every part of your experience is your experience. You can't pretend that the shitty bits are not anything to do with you. What you're going to do, shut down when it gets a bit tough. It's like, it's your experience. Live your life all the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And also own your shit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Because it's like shaped who you are today.
Absolutely. Let me throw something else at you. Lilias, what are we doing here?
Wow, that's a big question. Exploring our essence, I'm going to answer.
I love it. I love that.
Because we've been sent on a journey down here. And I do believe that we were given a set of instructions before we came down here. And it's up to us what we do with it. And so I think we are exploring our essence and seeing if we can become a better person than we were last time.
Oh my God, that's so good.
The more we can affect in a good way the people around us and help the people. Our life, what do we hear? We're in service. We are in service to other people. Right. And to become the very best that we can in this lifetime. And that starts from the get-go, and it never ever finishes until you draw your last breath.
I love that.
Because you can still change somebody's life in your last breath.
Yeah,
just saying apology, just saying I'm sorry, I got it wrong, I shouldn't have done that. It's very powerful. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we're exploring our essence and trying to get it better than we did, or trying to improve on our last episode, shall we say.
That's so good. Lilias, do you know who you are?
Yes,
So my next question is, Lilias, who are you?
I am Lilias. Absolutely. I mean, I am God.
Oh
And
my
that
God, I love that.
okay, because we are part, without being religious, we are part of the great energy that is the world that we live in. We are part of it. So I am part of God. I am God. And so are you, and so is everybody you know. And
Absolutely.
therefore we should see the same light and beauty in everybody that we see. And if what we see is not as attractive as we'd like it to be, then one can only basically, hope that they can find a better way to live their life, have compassion, that they may learn the lessons along the way, and
Right.
try not to stand in judgment, which is exactly what I've just done.
I get it though. I'm gonna throw something at you here. So this is complete the sentence if you can. Yeah.
Okay,
Um, Pressure comes from.
yourself.
Success is.
Oh. Success is what you make it.
I love that. I love that. In the end, it all comes down to.
The hard work you put in.
Oh, given the chance, I would.
Change a few things. That's true. I would definitely change one or two things. But in not changing them, I've learned stuff along the way. You know,
Right. Right.
by shouting so loud about various things that I felt passionate about, I got slapped down very hard by the universe. And so perhaps if I'd gone about things in a different way, there may have been a different outcome. But I've learned the lesson, and maybe I had to learn the lesson to get to where I was. So, it's hindsight is a wonderful thing, but it is hindsight, and you don't learn the lessons without going through them.
Right. Right. Lilias, this has been we've been here for 40 minutes and we this is just a tip of the iceberg of who you are, obviously, but it is what it is. But if I were to really push you and say, look, Lilias, if I really want to know who you are, if I want to know, Lilias, what can you say to me in a sentence or two or a few words that really boils you down? What do I need to know about you to really get to know you? Where do I start?
Probably with some muddy boots in the middle of a field with some large dogs.
I love it. I love it. Listen, I've got not many people know this, but although I'm very much a poet, I've been working on a small time machine, which I have working now. Yeah, and I can let you have it, and I would really love to give it to you, but it only works for a minute. But I want to send you back somewhere. So I want to send you back to really young Lilias at some point. You can pick when it is, and I want to send you back there, and I'd love for you to share with us what you're going to say to her.
I think I would say to her to have courage and to find the joy that she couldn't see at the time.
Wow. Oh man, it gets me every single time. That's just, yeah. Yeah. And do you know what? In my kind of weird Wizard of Oz brain, because we've said that in some alternate universe that kind of happens.
Yes. Yes. I think everybody has joy, but sometimes they have to dig deep to find it, and they have to have humility in that it's not there all the time, and you have to find it, and it's up to you whether you choose to find it, or whether you choose to stay in a very dark place And it takes a lot of courage to, it's, you know, if you're depressed, it's no good people saying, oh, go out and have a walk. It's inside you, and it's not just a chemical imbalance. It's actually you having to find that joy, having to find the reason to live, having to find the reason to get out there, wear that smile. And it's, other people can't do it for you.
Right.
And it takes courage to get out of bed, put a smile on your face and go, you know what, today's going to be the day when I make it happen. I
love that. I love that. I've got a couple of more for you, but I'm just going to say thank you so much for sharing so honestly. Lilias, is there anything else?
Oh, there's lots. There's lots. I'm just passionate about my work, about my family, about the things I'm interested in. I mean, life it's so incredible. I mean, there's so much to learn, and I am a huge sponge for information, and I don't know where it's going to take me half the time. And what I learn, I want to share, and I get passionate about it. But it's also being able to sit back and see things that you've done blossom. I mean, the other day, one of my clients who I saw in America, very, very, very ill young boy who's about 15, and he could go at any time. Right. And now, a few weeks later, or a couple of months later, he's now blossoming. He's trying to talk. He's trying to move in a different way. The dynamics on his family have completely changed. Wow. There's so much more. And through learning and taking yourself into an area that is uncomfortable, that you know nothing about, and exploring that, sometimes gives you a golden nugget that will help someone on another part of the world do something completely different that they never thought they'd have the opportunity of doing. And right. Through discovering something that I knew nothing about, I was able to help somebody, to start to claw back the resilience, the vitality in their life, and to go forwards. And being in a position to change the dynamics in a family or in any situation where the whole family can be more joyful, can be more vital, can have a more cohesive unit, is a tremendous privilege. And I can't get enough of it. I have to keep learning. I have to keep trying. I just want to be the very best Lilias I possibly can be in order to help other people be the very best people they can. And, we get it wrong sometimes, and you have to have humility and you have to keep trying. But I do believe there is always a way. Problems are just solutions waiting to be found. And maybe science hasn't got there yet, but it will. And maybe it's some old wisdom from an old Indian in a tent that we haven't discovered yet. But there's an answer. And, nature is amazing, and her plant force that she's given us that we can get stuff from. There's just so much out there waiting to be discovered, and I want it all. And in this lifetime, I'll do as much as I can. That's superb. That's so superb. Thank you so much. I'm just going to finish on this one thing, and this is going to put you on the spot a bit, but this is going to change tack completely. But if I were to ask you about a piece of music or a song that is meaningful to you, and if you could maybe tell me a little story about why it's meaningful, that might be a nice way to finish. My partner hates my choice of music because it's what I call wrist slashing stuff. I like the Joni Mitchells and the Carly Simons and Carole King, and but for me, a piece of music that I absolutely love is Tapestry by Carly Simon, Carole King rather, because life is a tapestry, and I feel like I've crammed a lot of lifetimes or a lot of episodes or chapters into my nearly 55 years of age, and it never stops changing, and it is rich, and those threads are always connecting it all together, and we may not know where the next thread is leading, but it's very rich and it's wonderful. That's fantastic. What a beautiful way to end. Thank you so much. Lilias, is it okay if I tag your your website to the interview? Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to say thank you to you for giving me the opportunity to express some of this stuff, because not many people actually really know who I am. And it's
Yeah.
lovely to be able to share a little of this with you. So thank you for that opportunity.
It's been wonderful you sharing it, and you've been fantastic, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do it. And you know, I wish you all the best, and hopefully at some point, I don't know, you know, it would be lovely for us to all hook up again, because I know there's a network of people
I'd
that
love
used
it.
to, that you obviously with Kerry and a lot of the others that I
Yes.
wasn't a part of them, but it would be good to get that group back together at some point.
No, it would be a very powerful group. It would be lovely.
Yeah, wishing you lots of love, Lilias. Thanks very
And to you
much.
too. Thank you.
Yeah,
In
thank
gratitude.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
absolutely. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.